So James Wilks and Chris Kresser talked about this on the recent Joe Rogan podcast.
100%. That was a great podcast.
Maybe.
yeah, it depends on what side you're on, for sure.
I did a whole response to him, and he won't engage with me. If you guys know James Wilks, you got to tell him he really needs to show up and actually have a conversation with me, because I had a lot of issues with many of his points. But
fair enough. Okay.
All right, we're going to be talking about the Carnivore Code. That's Paul Saladino, MD's newest book. And I'm going to encourage y'all to take this seriously. Don't write this off, because where this is going to lead us is into the future of the nutrition discussion in the online health community. And we're going to be talking about some of the techniques used to manage that discussion. So stay tuned, watch this whole video, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What's up, y'all? We've got some high-profile debate expectations to cover on this video, which is really going to be an update to the announcement I made, where it appears that CarnivoreMD Paul Saladino is planning to debate Dr. Avi and Kevin Bass, the nutrition expert. So we thought that was going to happen, and there's been a little bit of a delay because Paul has a book that is literally just launched. And I will put a link in the description for Paul's book on the carnivore diet if y'all want to check that out. Here's the deal, guys. People on Twitter are starting to get at Paul Saladino and say, hey man, this debate, you said you were going to do it. Is it going to happen? Like, are you there? Let's make it happen. And Paul Saladino has been pretty vocal about calling out James Wilks lately, and you can see that here.
I want to offer counterpoints to what is becoming such a pervasive plant-based movement now. And I fear that pervasive plant-based movement is based mostly on misleading epidemiology and propaganda, like the Game Changers. Let's just be honest, that movie is propaganda. So that is what I hope to do in my work. I hope to offer counterpoints. I hope to offer some degree of science to counteract plant-based arguments, which I believe, again, are not scientifically founded, and to let people know that meat is healthy and that plants exist on a toxicity spectrum.
And this actually spawned one of the most ironic Twitter interactions I have ever seen. Paul Saladino basically calling out James Wilks, saying, oh, plant-based diets don't hurt people. Well, what about this football star who couldn't cut it on a plant-based diet? And Dr. Avi said, cool anecdote. Just let me know when you're ready to talk about the actual science. And Paul Saladino said, we'll do it soon, but it must not be an epidemiology comparison. Those are silly and help no one. Show me interventional trials that meat is harmful to humans or animals, please. And your boy Nick came through and said, imagine posting an anecdote and then ripping on epidemiology moments later. It's remarkable. That is classic right there. That is instant classic. Had to put that in a video. So Paul Saladino, happy to call out James Wilks after the success of the Game Changers. Happy to reach out to Mark Rober, who recently had Bill Gates talking about food choices on his viral YouTube channel. Y'all know Mark Rober. Yeah, Paul Saladino wants a piece of that. He wants a piece of Bill Gates. And the question really is, are we going to see Paul Saladino respond and connect with Dr. Avi and Kevin Bass, who are essentially the two preeminent nutrition experts that want to debate the topic of meat, the carnivore diet, plant-based diets? Are we going to see that come together? And I think the answer is going to be yes. And here's why. Because Paul is trying to break out of his echo chamber. He did just have Cyrus and Robbie from Mastering Diabetes on his podcast.
This week on the podcast, I am stoked to have been able to share some time with two fruitarians. I know, it's crazy.
Just want to point out that by calling them fruitarians, it kind of knocks them down a peg, makes them seem a little less serious. Now we're not talking about whole food, plant-based diets. We're talking about those kooky fruitarians. But I don't think either of those dudes eats a fruitarian diet. Now, Robbie, maybe, I'm not sure exactly, but I don't think... if you go watch the Rich Roll podcast, I'm pretty sure they explicitly said they do not endorse fruitarian diets. And Paul knows this. Paul talked to them about what they eat. They eat cooked food. They eat lentils. They're not fruitarians. So
why did you invite fruitarians on your show, Paul? Because I don't want it to be an echo chamber. I'm going to have more quote-unquote friendly debates with plant-based advocates in the future. I want people to be able to see both sides of this. Though I am appreciative of the work that Robbie and Cyrus do.
So circling back to Paul's book, This is the immediate future of the discussion in the online health and nutrition community. Because, make no mistake, what we are essentially talking about is two competing approaches. The carnivore diet, which Paul made an explicit point to define, it's not just a low-carb diet. We're talking about predominant majority of calories coming from animal products, approaching a zero-carb diet. Very little plant food, very little wiggle room for plant food or carbohydrates in general, competing for resources in an online discussion with people like Robbie and Cyrus at Mastering Diabetes, who have a proven track record for getting results, lowering people's blood sugar while they're still able to eat carbs on a whole food plant-based diet. We're talking about a low-fat, typically no oil, whole food plant-based diet, not fruitarian diets in general. Now, some of the people may have a taste for fruit. They might eat more fruit, and they are able to. And we're talking about diabetics. And that's what's so interesting about what Robbie and Cyrus do. Whereas on Paul Saladino's carnivore program, you're not having fruit, you're not having carbs. It's just not happening, and that's a fact. And that's one of the important things about this discussion, where he's bringing this book out now, and it's starting to help people wake up to the choices that they have to make. So listen, guys, I'm not angry at Paul for promoting this diet. It's not the ethical choice that I would make for my food choices, but that's because I know and see people that are thriving on a whole food plant-based diet. Robbie and Cyrus have countless anecdotes, and it's fascinating to see the growth of this movement in this marketplace. And so this is where it's important to see the debate get taken by people who have the most competent abilities to discuss nutrition and the science behind it. And that's why I think it's important that we see Paul agree and come forward and have a discussion with Dr. Avi and Kevin Bass, the PhD nutrition student, who has a bit of a track record as a muckraker and a contrarian, even within people who eat plant-based diets. This guy is not vegan, and I think that brings an element of credibility that you can't just dismiss him as a fruitarian. So there's more I could say about this, guys, but I think it is going to happen. The immediate thing is Paul's going to have to knock out a few things on his book tour first, and I think we should respect him, give him a little bit of time to get his ducks in a row. Hopefully he'll go on the Diet Wars podcast with Dr. Avi and Kevin Bass, and then have Avi and Kevin Bass come on the Carnivore cast, or whatever his podcast is called, the CarnivoreMD podcast. If you look at the tweets I'm showing on screen, I do think this debate will happen, which is a good thing. These are the discussions that people need to have, and I think with the launch of Paul's new book and programs like Mastering Diabetes becoming more mainstream, we are seeing the options shape up of how people can take control of their health and prevent and reverse chronic disease. But in order to do that, people need the best information available from the best scientific experts, and we need to cut through some of the confusion, and that's why debates like this one are important. So if you guys want to see more updates from me about the people and the events that are shaping the diet discussion in the online community, then make sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below. I hope this debate stays friendly, just like I hope y'all are able to keep it friendly in the comments section down below. Now, if you want to learn more about the background of this discussion and how we got to this point, then go ahead and click on the thumbnail that pops up and watch this video for more information right now. All right, y'all know what time it is. Red Pill Vegan. Next.